him.
I want to watch the news.
Are you making headway at least?
This is the news.
Smack-a-McGob, it is time for the only news that matters. And Jimi Hendrix and Jim Morrison, along with a few other popular music artists, met in a club. However, their meeting was not pleasant because they got into a fight. Now let's discuss it in more detail. The vocalist of the Chamber Brothers, Lester Chambers, explains that back in the day there was not much space in the club, so musicians had to collaborate with whoever was present. You would come in off the street, go down 4 or 5 steps, and you were in the club. It was a small space, maybe 100 people at the most. So you gotta mingle with whoever was there. And once Jimi Hendrix came to the club, he went to the stage and started setting up his guitar. There was no problem until Jim Morrison came. When he came to the stage, he was already blindly drunk. And per one of the audience named Michael J. Weber said when Morrison showed up, he was very intoxicated, God knows on what, and he was slurring, very stoned. Also said that Morrison did not like Hendrix's attitude. Later, Jim went and sat next to Janis Joplin, who was also present that day. And all of a sudden, Morrison grabbed Joplin's hair and pulled her to the ground. According to witnesses, Joplin then grabbed the bottle and hit him with it. However, it did not injure him. After that, he went to the stage where Hendrix was jamming with others. He was so drunk he had to hold on to the mic stand. And every once in a while, he'd go, ow, wow, ow. Obviously, anyone would get irritated. And so was Hendrix, who then said to the audience, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the sound of Jim Morrison. It would only trigger drunk Morrison more, so he started to mock Hendrix by getting down on his knees and screaming that he wants to suck Hendrix's dick. A publicist of the Elektra Records who was present at the club later reported he was very loud and Hendrix was still attempting to play. Morrison wouldn't let go. It was a tasteless exhibition of scene stealing, something Morrison was really into. To top it all off, Janis, who had been sitting in the back of the room, saw this happening and suddenly appeared at the edge of the stage with a bottle in one hand and her drink in the other. So they all started fighting, and clearly Morrison had to take on both Hendrix as well as Joplin. They all had to be taken away from the stage, and it is obvious that Morrison would get injured. After all, he was blindly drunk and couldn't even stand still properly. And on top of that, he had to take both Hendrix and Joplin's fierce punches. That's rock and roll, man. Jim Morrison was a character, let me tell you, man. And yeah, I heard about this little thing about him and Joplin, where Joplin hit him with a bottle, but I didn't know this was going on the same night with Hendrix. All you Doors aficionados, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't there, is there a recording with Hendrix and Morrison where Morrison kept saying, fuck you up the ass, baby, over and over again? I know there's a recording I've heard. It was like, I think it was recorded in the audience where Morrison was up on stage all drunk just screaming that. Was that the same night with Hendrix? Probably not, but I figured I'd ask. And yeah, you know, I'm not the biggest Doors fan, though. You know, I don't hate them at all because there's several Doors songs I actually love. I love Crystal Ship, People Are Strange, Take It As It Comes. Those are some great damn tunes. I even love Touch Me. I think that's a gorgeous song with the orchestra and stuff. But, you know, other than that, I'm kind of like a greatest hits guy with the Doors, where Hendrix, I worship Hendrix. I own so much Hendrix stuff. I don't think I own them all. I obviously own the 3 when he was alive, and I own, like, I don't know, 9 albums after he died, and a couple, 3 box sets. I love Jimi Hendrix. I thought he was criminally underrated as a songwriter and lyricist. Perfectly rated as a guitar player. Definitely a game changer. To me, man, the game changers of guitars was Hendrix and Eddie. And to some extent, I'd put at number 3 Yngwie Malmsteen, because when he first burst on the scene, everybody freaked out and was very influenced by him by the time. But I don't think Yngwie had that impact that Hendrix and Eddie did in the long run. But still, I love Yngwie. I have nothing bad to say about Yngwie. But yeah, and also Janis Joplin, greatest hits. I think she had an awesome voice. Cry Baby, that song, I think it's called Cry Baby. Screaming her ass off. I dig some of it. Though, you know, again, I own the greatest hits on CD and that's it. And the same thing with the Doors. I own like their greatest hits, and I think I have that first album. Oh wait, yeah, I do. I do have the first album on vinyl. Where Hendrix, man, he had so many great songs he wrote that they released after he died, like Look Over Yonder, man. That song rules. And also a certain there's a version I got of Room Full of Mirrors that's on one of the box sets. That's so amazing that I heard like another version on one of the, I don't know, maybe Voodoo Soup or one of those later albums on that I have on CD that I don't think it's as good as the version that's on that box set. And that's one of my favorite Hendrix songs, Room Full of Mirrors. Amazing stuff. And I believe all 3 of them are part of the 27 Club, you know, where they died at 27. I think Brian Jones was another one, and Kurt Cobain, and a few others, man. But yeah, that's a holy trinity of 60s music right there. You know, Doors, Joplin, and Hendrix, and they're all hanging out. And Jim was very rock and roll, man. I don't think his music was as rebellious, but as a person, he might have been the most raunchiest rock star of the 60s, you know. It's kind of like the G.G. Allen of the 60s, you know. Belligerently drunk, doing all this crazy shit. I remember reading as a kid this book called, I think it's called No One Gets Out Here Alive, where I remember there was a story about a girl under a table that it's a little too vile to talk about on YouTube. As I recall, I haven't read that book in like over... Shit, I think it's been 40 years now since I read that book on Jim. And I was very intrigued by Jim as a little kid. I remember MTV was giving away, I'm talking old school here, a VCR with a video, and you also get a video of the Doors. And I sent in postcards. I wanted that so bad because at that time, I was very intrigued by the Doors, and I didn't own a VCR. I wanted a VCR badly. But, you know, and then I did. I listened to all the Doors albums through the years, and yeah, most of it just did not connect. I think it has a lot to do with the keyboards. You know, it's a little too keyboard for me, but like I said, man, there's a handful of songs I do love from the Doors that can make a really killer album, I think. And you know, Hendrix I worship. You know, if ever there's something I don't own of Hendrix musically and I see it, I buy it. Because I am, even live stuff, I just love the hell out of Jimi Hendrix. And yeah, like I said, Janis, great singer, whiskey voice, but, you know, more into greatest hits. Bobby McGee, that was another one I enjoyed from her. But anyway, that's what I feel. What do you all feel about the Doors, Hendrix, and Joplin? Leave it in the comments below. And have you heard this story? I mean, I heard the part where, you know, he pulled Janis's hair, but I never heard this Hendrix story and thought I'd put it in the only news that matters, which I thank you all for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you, and I hope you are subscribed to my channel. Because if you're not, it'd be awesome if you do. Because only cool people like subscribe to this channel, and you are cool. So you'd be doing yourself a huge injustice if you do not subscribe to my channel and click that little notification bell. And hey, like the video. It's good for the YouTube algorithms. So stay frosty, listen to Black Sabbath, and smack 'em a gob.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston. And so never more shall we see you again.